Hello, and welcome to the 6-5 Summit. I'm Shelley Kramer, one of the founding partners here at Futurum Research, and on behalf of my team at Futurum and the team at Moor Insights and Strategy, welcome. We're very glad to have you. In this spotlight session, Futurum's Daniel Newman speaks with Kentis Gopalla, the head of project management, strategic partnerships, and alliances for Zoom. And their conversation centers on the major shift we're seeing today in remote and hybrid work and how Zoom is innovating for customer experience. I'm looking forward to hearing what they've got to say, and I'll bet you are too. Let's go check it out.
Kentis, welcome to the 2022 6-5 Summit. We are so excited to have you joining us here.
Great to be here, Daniel. I'm super excited to have this conversation today.
Yeah, I'm really glad we were able to make this work. It's such an important topic. The whole collaboration space has really become one of the underpinning technologies of the remote work trend that we're all dealing with, the hybrid work story, the future of work story. And it started a lot with video. And, I think this is our third year of this, Kentis. And, the first year was in the very beginning of the pandemic, and collaboration and video was everything. And then so over the next year, we started seeing mobility pop up. And then in this last year, I think we've sort of heading to the wave of more normal. I say more normal because I'm very afraid to say we're back to normal because COVID's still happening and there's still, been some issues around the world of needing to shut down, but we are seeing people moving. We're seeing airlines more full. We're seeing hotels more full. It's starting to feel, and by the way, people are going back to work.
Yeah.
And so, where I'd love to start is right there is Zoom was, by the way, very successful prior to the pandemic, but it was a jettison into the limelight as companies had to figure out how to act in the beginning of the pandemic. Now we're on the other side of this thing. I'm just kind of curious, Zoom is more than just meetings, but sort of how are you telling the Zoom story to really help the market and the rest of the world see that?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Daniel. And to your point, Zoom is more than just meetings. It's a full platform. If you look at the product lines, we have a great UC platform with Zoom Phone. And lastly, we recently introduced Zoom Contact Center as well. So we'll talk about this in a bit. But if you go back to the premise of how we've been helping our customers, before the pandemic, nearly all companies had their employees working from the office, at least 4 days a week or even 5 days a week. And then the pandemic happened and companies started to plan, or some of them have really shifted to combine remote working and on-site working, meaning that the employees are now working in a hybrid or fully remote fashion. And there's a new set of challenges that come with that, right? So that's what we've been working on, working with our customers, listening to how we can help them drive that shift, working from a full remote or a hybrid approach. Now, when we talk to some of the customers, they love the simplicity, the ease of use, the intuitiveness of the Zoom meeting platform, and they started telling us, we love a Zoom platform. Now, how can we use that same product, that same platform in the customer experience domain? How do we extend that to our contact center solution? So that's how we started building our own contact center solution on the same Zoom stack. So we are diversifying our portfolio. We've become a full platform into customer experience, into collaboration, and at the same time, we are making all the APIs available to build an ecosystem of partners. We get it. We know that customers will need to integrate with various applications to drive more efficiency for their workers. And we have built a full platform with APIs available, with a marketplace for partners to build on top of our platform.
So I'm glad you kind of spoke about this shift. And it's happening. I talk about this continuum, Kentis. I talk about a continuum of sort of companies that are going to be 100% remote, and then there's companies that are going to go 100% back in office. Most are going to be somewhere on that continuum in between, and it's going to be a combination of talent-driven. It's going to be a combination of geographic. It's going to be, some companies considering type of roles. There's some roles that you really can't do remotely that really need to be. And then, of course, how do culture. So all those sort of things. But as you mentioned that, I was thinking to myself, you mentioned APIs, you mentioned connecting into other systems. This next wave of remote work is going to require that the solutions like those that you mentioned really are integrated into your everyday work experience. And so every company in the space, including Zoom, sort of has a different story of how that all happens. Some it's monolithic. Some companies it's a series of integrations. Um, I'd love to kind of hear that from you and from Zoom. Is how are you thinking about that? Because connecting into ERPs and CRMs and connecting into low code to build out, like all those things that become really popular kind of narratives in this whole collaboration story. What's the Zoom story about
Yeah,
how they're going to build around that?
yeah, no, absolutely. And we know, we acknowledge that, single apps no longer have the flexibility and agility that will require you to adapt as employees are evolving in that journey, right? So that's why we are providing a platform, so that from within that Zoom experience, the employees can launch several other applications. Let's say a project manager needed to launch a project management tool within a chat session that they're having with their colleagues. So we want to make sure that that experience is simple and easy to go across from one app to another. So some employees will need to use multiple apps, but that collaboration and the communication needs to be persistent across. The other example is also, when you look at brainstorming, right? So in the past, for people to brainstorm, they needed to be in a room to get on a whiteboard, start drafting, new ideas. But with that shift happening, we have seen that brainstorming remotely has worked well. With people doing brainstorming through online sessions. But now you're shifting. For some people are in an office, some are remote in different locations geographically. How do you bring all these people together? That's why we're also seeing the shift where, um, with brainstorming and innovation, remote collaboration is becoming more asynchronous, right? So you come up with an idea, people go and work on it asynchronously, and then they come back and share those ideas and through the tools that we make available to them. So we are working with some companies to drive that shift as well, as in how do we manage that hybrid workplace where you have certain group of people in the office and others are working remotely, and how do you get them to work together as a team?
Yeah, and I also think that's kind of critical that there's a fluidity to work. And some of that comes through like those APIs and integrations, right? You're scheduling a calendar meeting, making sure that you can have that Zoom pop right into your calendar invite, even if you're using a different calendaring
Yep.
platform, right? No matter what platform you're using. And by the way, no matter what platform they're using, whoever you're trying to get into your meeting, making it synchronous and ubiquitous when required. And then, of course, things like chat being there to enable people to work asynchronously, which is definitely a feature that you've worked on building out. But creating something that's utilized, across organizations, that's going to be key. And enabling, like I said, customers, ecosystems, partners, channels up and down the line that everybody can chat in a single platform and stay connected, get the alerts they want to get and not the ones they don't, and be able to, keep work fluid. I think that's part of the customer experience narrative. So you used that term, Kentis, early on. You talked about customer experience. Um, you kind of mentioned context, and what does that mean? What does Zoom extending its customer experience story mean?
Yeah, so if you look at the enterprises, we have a full UC platform called Zoom Phone, where we have over 3 million users globally on that platform. So when we were working with some of those customers, they started telling us, our current contact center solution is not extensible. It's on premise. We're facing a lot of challenges. It's not easy to use. It's difficult to maintain. Their contact center platforms were really aging, and having used Zoom Phone and Zoom meetings, they started to think, can we bring that simplicity, ease of use, a cloud solution for our customer experience solution for customers to contact us easily to make it easy for our employees, our contact center agents to work remotely as well. If you look at those traditional contact center solutions that are in the market, when the whole shift happened, it was very difficult for some of them to have agents working from home. They didn't have the right tools, even when working from home. So if you think traditionally in a contact center, if an agent was having an issue with resolving, a customer problem, they would just put up their hand, and a supervisor would walk over, come to that agent and help them out. Now, that agent is working from home. Now, how do they get help? So what we've done is to bring all these capabilities that we have in unified communication into the contact center. So we've launched Zoom Contact Center, which is a full omni-channel cloud solution. When we launched at the end of February, we launched with 2 channels that we supported, voice and video, for the contact center, so that callers could contact an enterprise through a phone number, but also if they were to go on their website and start a video session to the contact center, right? So we launched with those 2 channels, and then last month we added 2 additional channels, which are chat and SMS. So somebody could go on a website, start a chat session, and be connected to a live agent in the enterprise. Now, for the agents, what we've done is to bring that simplicity and ease of use. So the same Zoom application that everybody has been using and is so familiar with that intuitiveness and ease of use, we are bringing that same application for the contact center agent, so that it's easy for them to use. Now, coming back to the scenario where the agent needed help and talked to a supervisor, we've provided all the tools, the collaboration tools and presence required, so that the agent can see, is there an expert available in the back office in a different department, let's say in finance, and they could collaborate with that person who may not be an agent, but who is an expert in a different domain, and bring that expertise to resolve an issue. So that's how we are bringing first contact resolution. Is it that is very familiar in the contact center space. So we are driving a lot of the first contact resolution, those high touch scenarios with Zoom Contact Center.
So obviously CX and contact center are symbiotic, but CX is not merely contact center.
Absolutely.
So, where I love to kind of take these conversations as we come to the end is always future forward. Okay. So you've made Zoom much more extensible. In the early days, it was sort of a point to point. You've added things like chat, events, contact center. Where does it go from here? How comprehensive do you see? And of course, there's probably things you can and can't share. So within the constraints of what you can share, how far can you take this? Where do you think it needs to go in order to be optimal, to win customers, to win more quote unquote workloads that are going to be Zoom, revenue expansion, stickiness, more dollars per customer? Because I think that's what, the customers want: simplicity. They want to work. They like Zoom for its simplicity. If you can build other things to be that way, they're going to invest. So long way of getting to a really simple question. Where does it go from here?
Yeah, I think you're going to see we're going to continue to invest in areas where we can improve collaboration. We're going to improve communication. So Zoom will eventually become the platform of communication and collaboration. Now, when you look at what does that mean in for an enterprise, that could be customer experience, it could be the employee engagement, or how to improve business efficiency overall. So we will provide the tools that are available. If you look at customer experience, just by itself, we launched Contact Center, with voice and video, and then we started looking at, okay, how about digital channels? So we completed the acquisition of a company called Solvi that provides, digital channels with online chat and so on for enterprises. So as we get into that space, you're going to see us investing more on how we drive better customer experience in those areas. Now, when we look at for the employees, itself. When you look at contact centers, we will be partnering with a number of vendors in the areas of workforce management or CRM applications. But also you look at, how do we drive more AI into collaboration and communication. So we've acquired companies in the past with those AI capabilities. So you start seeing those technologies with AI that will infuse into our core products, that will drive better communication, drive efficiency for employees as well.
Yeah, I love that. It's I could probably go off on my own little diatribe, but I love that you mentioned intelligence and AI. I think there has to be ways to do things like latency-free translation, two people speaking different languages seamlessly. And I know that can be done at the edge on devices. It's a little more complex when you put it in the cloud and have to
Yeah,
process that data. And obviously, it isn't working fluently at the edge yet either, but I've seen it. I know it can be done. Also, taking data from meetings, helping companies with process mining, workflow automation, integrating things into CRMs and business intelligence platforms. I always say, sales, professionals, how much time do they spend in meetings and then have to go back into a CRM system or enter data into some sort of spreadsheet somewhere? If we can automate some of that. So I'm not saying you're going to tackle all that, but I'm saying if I'm reading the tea leaves, Kentis, you're thinking about these problems and hopefully you're looking at all these different kinds of roles and personnel and how that these things can be made easier using data intelligence and work streams.
absolutely. And to your point, I'm glad you brought that up, Daniel. So we've also launched Zoom IQ, which is our AI capabilities for the sales folks. So exactly to that point is to look at a conversation and provide guidance on what could have been better, to look at sentiment analysis, post-call recording, and so on. And then slowly we're going to take those same capabilities and bring into real time to drive more efficiency for the employees. The other area that you mentioned as well, I'm glad you brought this up, something that we will be, we have on our roadmap is to be able to do translation. So a lot of us have been playing on this internally at Zoom. So you could be speaking in English, I could be responding in French, and then you could have real-time translation in a conversation. So again, is to look at our mission is really to how do we foster collaboration. So we could be a team in the US here working with a team in Japan, and how do you foster that collaboration and bring simplicity in communicating? So with this real-time translation. Another feature that we've announced as well is our whiteboard capabilities. So similarly, a lot of people prefer visual collaboration, providing them with the tools to get them to work better.
Absolutely. Well, you hit a bunch of things. There's iteration, there's innovation, there's advancement, ton of competition. And by the way, as an analyst, I love that because innovation spurs innovation. I say it probably on at least 10% of these videos. I've said that kind of statement, like the more competition in a field, the more it pushes all of you to be great and to continue to build, develop, and push the envelope. And that's what our listeners out there all want, is technology that pushes their businesses and their lives forward. So Kentis, I want to thank you so much for joining me here at the 2022 6.5 Summit. Love to have you back on the show sometime. Got to say goodbye. See you later.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much.